Hello and welcome back to the Tech Blackboard. It's a beautiful sunny Monday morning and this is our part 10 of our AZ-104 real exam question and answer exam series. And once again today I have got 15 very latest and important questions for you on AZ-104 certification exam. We have already covered 100 questions in 9 parts, and if you want the PDF versions of all the questions with answers of any of these parts, then do check out these parts, answer few simple questions, and you can get a PDF versions with all the answers. To get the PDF versions of this part 10 with all the questions and answers, you have to tell me the correct answers for question number 103, 108, and 115. The answers to all these 3 questions are available in this video itself. So please watch the video without skipping so that you are not missing on any important question. Let's begin our part 10 with question number 101. And the question says that you have an Azure Active Directory Azure AD tenant named Contoso on Microsoft.com that contains 100 user accounts. You purchase 10 Azure AD Premium 2 licenses for the tenant. You need to ensure that 10 users can use all the Azure AD premium features. What should you do? And your options are from the licenses blade of Azure AD assign a license, or from the groups blade of each user invite the users to a group. The third option is from the Azure AD domain add an enterprise application, and the last one is from the directory role blade of each user modify the directory role. So which one out of these 4 options should you choose? Now let me first give you the correct answer and then I will take you to the Microsoft documentation and also show how to do this in Azure portal. So the correct answer for this question is option A, from the licenses blade of Azure AD assign a license. Now let's go to the Microsoft documentation. So this is the Microsoft documentation that gives more details on assign or remove licenses in Azure Active Directory. So let's read it out. In this section which says available license plans, it says that there are several licenses plan available for the Azure AD service, including Azure AD Free, Azure AD Premium 1 and Azure AD Premium 2. And that's what we are talking about in the question as well, Azure AD Premium 2. And if you will scroll down a little more, here you can see how to do it in Azure portal. You can see that we have to reach to Azure portal, of course, and then as a second step, go to the Azure Active Directory and then you can select licenses. And under the licenses, you have to select all products to view all the product page and to see total assigned available and expiring soon numbers for your license plan. Now let me show you how to do the same in Azure portal. So on the home page of Azure portal, you have to reach out to Azure Active Directory. You can come on left hand side and here you have the option of Azure Active Directory, or you can also go to the recently used services where you also see this Azure Active Directory. If not, then you can also search Azure Active Directory from the search bar and then you can reach on the Azure Active Directory. So choose any option that suits you. Once you're in the Azure Active Directory, then on this side, you can see this manage here. And under the manage, you have an option called licenses. So if you click on the licenses, then as the Microsoft documentation also said, you have to reach to all products. And once you are in all products, you have this option called here with the plus sign that says try or buy. If you will click on this, then you see all the options that are available. And here you can see enterprise mobility, or you can also see Azure AD Premium 2. So the documentation from Microsoft and the actual practical doing on Azure portal validates our answer. Let's move to the other question. Our question number 102 says that your users wants to sign in to devices, apps and services from anywhere. They want to sign in using an organizational work or school account instead of a personal account. You must ensure that the corporate assets are protected and the devices meet standards for the security and compliance. Specifically, you need to be able to enable or disable a device. What should you do? And your options are enable the device in Azure AD, or should you join the device in Azure AD, or connect the device to Azure AD, or the last option is register the device with Azure AD. The correct answer for this question is join the device to Azure AD. So this is the Microsoft documentation that gives you more detail around Azure AD joint devices. You can read about the definition, the primary audience, and a lot more. Just a little scroll and you will reach to a section which says scenarios. And here in the last point, it says that you want to provide joining capabilities to workers who work from home or are in remote branch offices with limited on-premise infrastructure. And that's exactly matches with the requirement of our question. And that was the reasoning choosing option B, join the device to Azure AD as a correct answer. Before moving ahead, I just wanted to say that friends, it takes considerable amount of time and effort to find Microsoft documentation to justify each answer and give you an explanation for each question in our exam series. Please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your each like encourages me and ensures that the video is reaching to a greater audience. Do share the videos with everyone having interest in learning Azure Cloud technologies. Your comments and feedbacks give me a chance to understand what you want to see on this channel and help me improve my content. I always make sure to read each of your comments and reply to them. So keep supporting me and I promise to bring the content that helps you grow in your career. Moving on with question number 103, and it says that you have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure virtual machine named VM1. Now VM1 runs a financial reporting app named App1 that does not support multiple active instances. Keep this in mind, this is very important line. At the end of each month, CPU usage for VM1 peaks when App1 runs. You need to create a scheduled runbook to increase the processor performance of VM1 at the end of each month. What task should you include in the runbook? And your options are add the Azure Performance Diagnostics agent to VM1 or modify the VM size property of VM1, add VM1 to the scale set or increase the vCPU quota for the subscription, or the last option is add a desired state configuration extension to VM1. Now the correct answer for this question that I have chosen is option B, modify the VM size property of VM1. The reason is that question says that the app1 does not support multiple active instances. So that's the reason you cannot choose add VM1 to scale set, because scale set will create multiple active instances and that's what we do not want. Similarly, there could be another possible option which is desired state configuration. However, as I understand this desired state configuration, adding it to the virtual machine would need a downtime every month. And I don't think that would be a good solution to add a downtime to your virtual machine every month using this DSC. But this is a very good debate question. If you have any other logic or reasoning behind choosing any of the other option, for example, if you think that option C is a viable option or option E is a viable option, then put across your logic to choose other options in the comment section below, and then surely we can have a good discussion around it. Now jumping to the question number 104, and that says that you have an Azure subscription named subscription 1 that contains an Azure log analytics workspace named workspace 1. You need to view the error events from a table named event. So which query should you use in the workspace 1? And your options are listed here. If you have been watching this series very carefully, then you would remember that we discussed a similar question in the question number 90 of part 9. There I presented one more variation of the same question. However, the command or the correct answer was little different, because there can be 2-3 variations and you can achieve the same results by using different variations. So the correct answer for this question is search in event error. Also, I highly recommend watching that part 9, question number 90, so that you know all the variations of the same question. Our question number 105 says that Azure File supports identity-based authentication over server message block through which two type of domain services. And your options are Microsoft Active Directory, Kerberos Authentication Active Directory, or on-premise Active Directory domain service, or the last option is Azure Active Directory domain service. If you want to read more about server message block or SMB that was mentioned in the question, then you can come onto this Microsoft documentation. The link for this Microsoft documentation is given in the description box. But for now, the correct answer for this question is option C and option D. Now, one more question on server message block or SMB is presented in question number 106. And the question says that you have an Azure subscription containing a storage account named Storage1. The subscription is linked to an Azure Active Directory tenant named contoso.com that syncs to an on-premise Active Directory domain. The domain contains the security principles as shown below. So in this table, you can see we have name, we have like user 1 and computer 1. So user 1 is essentially a user, and of course computer 1 is a computer type. Now moving on, the question says that in Azure AD, you create a user named user 2. The storage 1 account contains a file share named share1 and has the following configuration. And here you can see on this right hand side, we are given a JSON file with kind storage v2, and there are properties also listed here. And then based on this description of the question, we have some statements for which we have to give answer in yes or no. Now let's read out the first statement. The first statement says that you can assign the storage file data SMB share contributor role to user 1 for share 1. Is it yes or is it no? The correct answer for this question is yes, that's possible. Then the second statement says that you can assign storage file data SMB share reader role to computer 1 for share 1. The correct answer for this statement is no, because you cannot assign a role to an object. You cannot assign it to a computer 1. It has to be a user, right? So that's why the correct answer for this one is no. And then we have the third statement which says that you can assign the storage file data SMB share elevated contributor role to user 2 for share 1. And the correct answer for this one as well is yes. And if you want to read more on SMB, then you can use the same Microsoft documentation that I showcased in question number 105. The link for that documentation is given in the description box. In fact, the links of all the Microsoft documentation that I have used in this video will be there in description box. Our question number 107 says that you are a big logistics company with many offices and an Azure subscription that contains an Azure Active Directory tenant. You need to grant user management permission to a local administrator in each office. What should you use? And your options are Azure AD roles, access packages in Azure AD entitlement management, or administrative units, or the last option is Azure roles. Key sections for this question is that you have many offices and you want to grant user management permission to a local administrator in each office. So keep that in mind. Now let's jump to the Microsoft documentation. We will read a little and then we will try to find the correct answer for this question. So this is the Microsoft documentation that introduces you to the administrative units in Azure Active Directory. And if you will come down to this section which says deployment solution, then you will read that it can be useful to restrict administrative support by using administrative units in organization that are made up of independent divisions of any kind. So consider the example that a large university that's made up of many autonomous school of business or school of engineering and so on. Each school has a team of IT admin who control, access, manage user and set policy for their school. So this scenario is very similar to our scenario in the question where we have a company and here we have a large universities. We have many offices in different locations, and in this example they also have many autonomous schools. So very similar business scenarios. And if you want to explore more, you can also read that what are the capabilities of this central administrator at each location. Now let's jump back to our presentation. So based on the Microsoft documentation, we can now easily find the answer, and the correct answer for this question is option A, Azure AD roles. Coming to question number 108, the question says that a company has an Azure subscription that contains a web app named the Tech Blackboard. Now the company needs to add a custom domain named www.thetechblackboard.com to the Tech Blackboard web app. So what is the first step for the company? And your options are upload SSL certificate, stop the web app, create a DNS record, or connect to a web app. And I suppose this is rather an easy question, and the correct answer for this question is create a DNS record. Now moving on with question number 109. It says that your organization maintains media files of an online library. Overall, hundreds of terabytes of data needs to be sent to Azure. Considering the limited bandwidth of your data center, you need to find a quick, inexpensive, and reliable way to transfer this data. The data must be encrypted 256-bit. What is your option? Select one. And the choices given are upload using Azure Portal, data box heavy, or data box edge, import or export. The correct answer for this question is data box heavy. Now I am sure that many of you would not have even heard about data box heavy, but not to worry, I've got you covered with proper Microsoft documentation. So this is the Microsoft documentation that will give you all the details that you need to know about data box heavy. And it tells you that data box heavy allows you to send hundreds of terabytes of data to Azure in a quick, inexpensive, and reliable way. The data is transferred to Azure by shipping your data box heavy device with 1 petabyte of storage capacity, which you fill with your data and send back to Microsoft. The device has a rugged casing to protect and secure your data during transit. To put it very simply, you can consider or visualize data box heavy as a hard disk. So you store all your data, whatever you want to transfer to Microsoft, and then you can ship this hard disk to Azure, and Azure will plug in this data device, and then this data will be available to you. The best part is that it offers a huge data capacity. You can read it's 1 petabyte, and also as our question asks that we need to secure this data. So you can read here that it says that the data on the device is secured with an AES 256-bit encryption at all times. So hopefully you understood that Azure Data Box Heavy is a very good option when you want to ship huge amount of data to Azure. Coming to our question number 110, and that says that you have an Azure Active Directory tenant named Contoso Cloud on Microsoft.com. Your company has a public DNS name for Contoso.com. You add Contoso.com as a custom domain name to your Azure AD. You need to ensure that Azure can verify the domain name. Which type of DNS record should you create? And your options are MX or NSEC, PTR or RRSIG. And the correct answer for this question is MX. You have to create MX DNS record to achieve this business case. Coming to our question number 111, and it says that you have an Azure Active Directory tenant. You plan to delete multiple users by using a bulk delete in Azure Active Directory Admin Center. Now you need to create and upload a file for the bulk delete. Which user attribute should you include in the file? And your options are the user principal name and usage location of each user only. Or the second option is the user principal name for each user. The third option is the display name of each user, or the display name and usage location for each user. Or the last option is the display name and the user principal name for each user only. Now let me take you to the Microsoft documentation, and there we will find the correct answer for this question. So this is the Microsoft documentation that tells you how to bulk delete users in Azure Active Directory. Then here in this section, you can see the CSV template structure. Just a little scroll and you will reach to a section that says to bulk delete users. And of course, the first step is that you log in into your Azure AD. Then the second step is that in Azure AD, select user bulk operation and then bulk delete. The third option is that on bulk delete user page, select download to download the latest version of CSV template. So basically, first you have to download the correct template before you can put the information in and upload it back. So now on the fourth step, where we will also find our answer, so pay good attention. It says that open the CSV file, add a line for each user you want to delete. Then it says the only required value is user principal name. So pay attention, it says that the only required value is user principal name. In order to save time, I will give the link for this Microsoft documentation in the description box. You can read all the steps here, but for now, let's jump back to our presentation. And as we read in the step 4, it said that we only need user principal name for each user. And that's why option B is the correct answer for this question. Now let's take some quick question to check your knowledge on AZ-104. Question number 112 says that one or more apps can be configured to run on same app service plan. Is it a yes or is it a no? The correct answer for this question is yes. Of course, you can configure multiple apps on the same app service plan. If you want to read more about service plan, this is the Microsoft documentation. I hope you have already noted that I am in Microsoft Learn and I have picked this documentation from the AZ-104 course from Microsoft Learn. Moving on with the next question 113, and that says that Azure virtual machine extensions can be managed using Azure CLI, PowerShell, Resource Manager templates, and Azure Portal. So what is your answer? Do you think Azure virtual machine extension can be managed by all the options listed here? Pause the video here and give the answer in the comment section. Now let's check out the answer. The correct answer for this question is yes, you can actually manage the virtual machine extensions with any of the option that suits you. It could be Azure CLI, PowerShell, or Resource Manager template, or it could also be Azure Portal. If you want to read more about Azure Virtual Machine Extension and explore its features, then this is the Microsoft documentation. The link, as always, will be available in the description box. Quickly jumping to the question number 114, and that says the Azure Portal, the Azure CLI, and Azure PowerShell offer significantly different services. So it is unlikely that all three will support the operations you need. Now, I am not sure that if you have explored Azure Portal or Azure CLI or PowerShell in a detailed manner. But if you are attempting AZ-104, then I strongly recommend that you should have a hands-on on all these three options, Portal, CLI, and PowerShell. Okay, so now coming back to the question, do you think that all these three options provide you different functionalities, or do they provide more or less same capabilities? So the correct answer for this question is no. See, you should be very clear that all these three tools offer almost the same services, so same capabilities. So this is not a deciding factor of what to choose. It actually more of your convenience, more of your style of working that you should choose. Normally, people do start with Azure Portal. However, once they gain experience or they want to do more automation, then they move to the options like Azure CLI or Azure PowerShell. Moving on with the last question of our part 10, the question number 115 says that you have an Azure subscription named Subscription 1 and an on-premises deployment of Microsoft System Center Service Manager. Subscription 1 contains a virtual machine named VM1. You need to ensure that an alert is set in Service Manager when the amount of available memory of VM1 is below 10%. What should you do first? And your options are create an automation runbook, deploy a function app, deploy the IT Service Management Connector or ITSM, or should you create a notification? And the correct answer for this question is deploy the IT Service Management Connector or ITSM. So this is the Microsoft documentation that gives you an overview of IT Service Management Connector. So IT Service Management Connector allows you to connect Azure Monitor to the supported ITSM products or services using either ITSM actions or secure webhook actions. You can come on to this page and read more details on ITSM, but this was just an overview. So hope you like these 15 questions in part 10. What are your questions? What are your doubts? I'm waiting for those in the comment section below. If this video has added any value in your learning, a like and subscribe is highly appreciated. Share this video in your family and friends to spread and expand their learning. Your comments and feedback give me a chance to interact with you, and I look forward for them. We will meet again in our next video. Till then, stay fit, keep learning, and thanks for watching.